Okay, I'll continue now. Our objectives of our CVEB are to identify gaps, opportunities, and barriers in service to improve service for veterans and military families. We coordinate information on services for veterans and their families, and we educate them and community advocates on community-based efforts and suicide prevention. So I just always like to remind everyone why we are here. And I would like us to do introductions. So we'll start here in person. And if you will, please give us your name and what organization you're representing. And also, please, if you are a veteran, share with us the branch of the military you served in. Go, Karen.
Hi, good afternoon, Siobhan Norris. I'm the Division Director for Wake County Veteran Services, U.S. Army veteran.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Isabella Brzezinski. I am the Operation Art Program Coordinator for the Joel Fund, and I'm a daughter of an Army veteran.
Hello, I am Lakeisha Brown, and I am the new Community Engagement Partnership Coordinator with Veteran Services. And so I am an extension of the Suicide Prevention Program.
Awesome. Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Lundwall. I am here from Blue Cross, and I am not a veteran, but I am an Army brat. It is nice to be here.
Good to see you. Mark, will you introduce yourself? And then I'll have you, when I come back to our guest speakers, I'll come back around for you to talk more about your role.
Mark Patton, U.S. Air Force, retired Military Child Education Coalition.
Thank you. Matt?
Hey, everybody. Matt DeVivo, Reserve Component Transition Assistance Advisor. I work out of the Raleigh headquarters and at the Guard headquarters. And I really enjoy these monthly meetings. I'm always learning a lot. Good to see everybody.
Thanks, Matt. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Brooke. I'm Paul Berry with Veterans Bridge Home and Strategic Partnerships, Senior Director. Served 30 years in the United States Marine Corps. And just like everyone else stated, these monthly meetings are absolutely very beneficial, Brooke. So always thank you for putting these together, because it's just a wealth of information. But the great thing is it's great people coming together, and we're all trying to do the same thing, help veterans and their families.
Absolutely. Ashley Wheeler?
Hi, Ashley Wheeler. I'm the Veteran Student Success Coach down at Awake Tech Community College.
Thank you. Diana?
Hello, everyone. I am Diana Marquez with Talents Ascend. I'm a relationship manager. I am a Army brat and a Navy spouse.
Thank you. Richmond?
Good afternoon. My name is Richmond McLeod. I am a resource coordinator with Stop Soldier Suicide, and I am a retired veteran.
Thanks for joining us. Terry?
Good afternoon, everyone. Terry Warren from VA's Education Service, 30-year Air Force veteran. Thanks for the invite today. Thank
you. Nick?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Nick Drake. I'm the Director of Military and Veteran Services at North Carolina State University. Army veteran and current National Guard. Got about 2 years to go to retirement.
Awesome. Josh?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josh Dadolf. I am a caregiver support coordinator representing the Durham VA and the Caregiver Support Program. I myself did not serve. I am the son of a World War II Navy veteran.
Awesome. Anne?
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Anne Gasparini, and I am the Interim Community Affairs Manager with Stop Soldier Suicide. This is my first meeting, and I am a former military spouse, parent, and overall affiliated with the USMC.
Great, thanks for joining us. Julie?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julie. I'm also with Stop Soldier Suicide, and I'm a resource coordinator.
Thank you. Randy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Randy Silver. I'm an Army veteran. Go back with that one. And I'm with NC Works. I provide employment resources for veterans who are seeking employment.
Thanks, Randy. Ashley Martinez?
Hello, everyone. I am Ashley Martinez. I'm the GI Bill Manager for the North Carolina Army National Guard, and I am a Marine Corps veteran as well as a Navy spouse.
Thanks, Ashley. Najla?
Hi, I'm Najla Munchauer. I am a veteran spouse, and we were in the Air Force and the Army. Same husband, different services.
I love that. Kristen?
I am Kristen Ross. I'm with Hire Heroes USA, sitting in for John today. This is my first meeting.
Welcome. Cindy?
Hi, everybody. I'm Cindy Thompson. I'm the Director of Operations for Volunteers of America. We have an SSVF program, Healthy Opportunities, HVRP, and GPD. So we work a lot with veterans. Don't mind my dad's dog crying in the background. And my father is a veteran.
Awesome. Don't worry, we didn't hear the dog. Did I miss anyone before we move on? No? Okay. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So as I mentioned, our topic of discussion today is veteran education, and we have 3 guest speakers with us, Mark Patton, Ashley Wheeler, and Terry Warren. But we also have some other people who are in this meeting who work in the education space specifically for veterans. And so please feel free to jump in and join the conversation. Just because you're not an official panelist does not mean you cannot, share the wealth of information that you have. So please jump in at any time. And as we're going through these questions, if there's questions from the group, please feel free to ask them. This is a very relaxed conversation. But the first, I will start us off with the first question. And what I'm going to do is go to each one of our panelists and ask you to talk about your role within the organization that you represent or that you work for, and what your organization does to work with veterans specifically. Well, and I won't say veterans because Mark is with military children, and how you work within that space. So Mark, why don't you start us off?
Like I put in the chat, I'm work for the Military Child Education Coalition. I've done every role someone can do. I've been the brat, been the husband, been the dad, been the spouse left behind, created me a new job as wedding planner. In the job with the Military Child Education Coalition, we work with military statuses of all kinds. My particular area is veteran families, because often lack of knowledge, not just about what rules protect their kids, but what happens when they've moved in the past, transcripts, and then getting into college, community college, career decisions. In my role, I'm a resource person. So if you name a topic, I probably have a file of resources. For instance, the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army has a staff member reached out to me about a young adult with autism and what resources are out there. And that happens to be a very particular passion of mine, because there is not a lot of resources for our young adults. And the recent stat shows 1 out of 4 military families have a touch with autism. So that kind of gives us a marching forward way to go. But in my role, I've been doing this about 8 years. I've worked not only with the kids, but military spouses and scholarships, and then sometimes even the veterans and what rights they have. As my side job, I'm certified through Duke and the Department of Military Veterans as a Veteran Service Support Officer. So I can get access to resources that some can't, and then turn them over to the right person to work with them on getting things done. The biggest thing I see, like, especially now, I'm down near Morehead City. I was at Fort Bragg in my original role, Fort Liberty, working those schools. Now I'm down here, is just getting the word out that this is a free resource. It's out there. We just celebrated 25 years. I just told our reserve partner, Matt, I was just with his boss in DC at our conference last week, and we're getting hit pretty hard to start working with reserves and National Guard to let them know what's out there in terms of education and support.
Awesome. Thank you. Ashley, will you go next, please?
Sure. So obviously working at Wake Tech Community College, we are where we hope our local veterans do come to school to get them that either their first time getting a degree or continuing their education with whatever their background is. So what my role specifically is a student success coach. At Wake Tech, what we have done is realize that students need a one-on-one face. They need someone they can consistently go to, and it needs to be the same person. So every student that comes to Wake Tech, a part of our curriculum programs, is assigned a student success coach. So it is somebody that they can continually come to. They don't have to go chase somebody down. And part of that initiative is the creation of care teams. This is something that Wake Tech has done. So what we have done is every programs such as our math and science, our arts, our public safety, all of these different groups have a care team, which has one of us as a student success coach, as well as 2 to 5 academic advisors. Again, creating that surrounding care, giving people just that small group to come to and ask questions and whatnot. But as part of those care teams, the very first one that we established was the one for veterans. We did this because the veterans will be a part of 2 groups. They are a part of our group, but they are also a part of the one for their program. And again, we did that because it was recognized that our veteran students are coming in and have a lot of questions. They have a lot of needs, and they definitely want things answered very directly, and they want them very quickly. So we saw the need to have a team specifically for them, especially to answer questions about resources that a lot of people on this call provide in the area. So we wanted to make sure that they had dedicated people on campus that were going to be here to work with them, to assist them with veteran benefits, with academic advising questions, or for me, come to me for non-academic resources. So if a student, any student, that is I obviously take care of our veterans, if they're going through any challenges such as food insecurities, transportation to campus, housing, if they need to speak with a counselor, or if they just need general tutoring, I am basically that person for them. A lot of times they'll come in here and sit in my office and just, get stuff off their chest, but they need somebody that they continually come to. So that is what myself does, as well as our other coaches. And then hopefully as Wake Tech, we kind of have that wraparound service of care for them.
Awesome. Thank you. Terry, will you
Wow, I
walk
don't know
us
if
through?
I don't know if I can talk that long.
You don't have to talk that long at all, I promise.
No.
We have lots
No,
of
it's-
questions.
No, it's great things that Ashley and Mark are doing, and it's highly appreciative, at least from my side. I'm the chief of stakeholder engagement for education service, and what that means is we have all the outreach. So events like this, we provide the high level overview. We also coordinate and get answers for our veterans and our school certifying officials. We'll work with the appropriate teams. Ashley and her folks, you probably know me because I send you all those emails to the school leadership. So and then if you were with us in 2019, we were out at UNC but hosted Wake Tech and NC State at one of our roadshow events. So we do a lot of that. We also have social media. We help answer questions on the GI Bill Facebook page. So a lot of times, our veterans send us too much information, but we tell, we'll connect with them and get them the help they need. So we're kind of a little bit of everything on my team. We're getting a little smaller, but we love going out and doing events like this and hope that we can help a little bit. And if I don't know the answer, I will get back with you, and I'll make sure that I drop in the stakeholder engagement inbox. That is the best way to get in touch with us. I'm getting ready to retire for the second time here in about 3 months. So I want to make sure that I leave a good email address, and I'll grab that here in a second. But again, I do appreciate y'all asking me out here today and being part of this panel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My next question is more for along the lines of the GI Bill, as someone who I didn't serve, I didn't take advantage of the GI Bill or from my dad or anything like that, but could someone walk us through the process of what that looks like and how someone can take advantage of that, of the GI Bill? Where do they start? Do they start with Terry on that side, or do they go straight to the school like with NC State or Wake Tech? Is there someone who could answer that question, kind of walk us through the process?
I mean, I know I can say for us here at Wake Tech, one of the services we offer is our Veteran Services Office. Our students will be assigned somebody that specifically will sit down with them and go through a checklist of what they need to do. When a student, and we've kind of started this initiative, when a student initially applies, not even is really fully accepted, when they apply to Wake Tech, they are given a checklist of every single thing they need to do, where they need to go. They are given the forms, and if they have questions, they know exactly who to come to. So I think when it comes to things like the GI Bill, I think all of us understand it's not an uncomplicated process. It's something that I think people, they've never seen it before. They want to know how to use it. That's why we have people here that will walk them through that process, that are connected to the VA, that will kind of do that with them. That's the way that we do it here at Wake Tech, but obviously I know there's others on this call that will do it in different ways.
Thank you. Terry,
So in families that I've worked with, in fact, I'm working with one right now because I got a school that's looking for a GI Bill certificate of eligibility, but everything they have is dated 2004, 2006, 2014. So I've talked to him yesterday and talked to the colonel whose family I'm working with to say, you've got what you got back then. There's now, and I walked them through the website. It's relatively easy. That's one of the things when it comes to GI Bill that's relatively easy. We had that little bump in 2018 where you had to have 4 more years, you had to commit, do all that. And a lot of parents are like, hold on. And I think we sent more business from around Fort Liberty than they wanted, because there were questions that even we sitting in the jobs that we had didn't know. And that's what got me more involved with the VA and becoming a VSS. So it's a matter of just, once the process starts, is kind of knowing it. And that's one page is pretty easy on the VA website. Although late in the play, because now it's a decision letter, and late in the play, I found certificate of eligibility again, but it never showed me one because I wasn't applying to get one. And that's like, there's not really examples on the website. But once I got to that point, I talked with the parent, I talked with the school. Now they're talking, I think they're off, and they're trying to simply link GI Bill to Yellow Ribbon, it's a private school. And so we got over that bump. Generally speaking, last 2-3 years, maybe it's because of COVID, parents have become more educated on GI Bill. They kind of understand what it means, where it's at, what they're eligible for. And that's, that's just in my experience.
Thank you.
Now,
Hi, Brooke, it's Ashley.
Yes.
So when it comes to talking about the GI Bill, I don't serve just the National Guard members. I like to open the services to all our veterans. One thing that I do is I will start by asking, what GI Bill are you looking to apply for? So then we start breaking down between Chapter 30. Are we talking active duty? Did you pay into the Chapter 30 active duty? Or are we talking Chapter 30 selective reserve, which, in other terms is the 1606 benefit? And then we'll go into, okay, what's Chapter 31? What's Chapter 33? And we'll even go as far as talking about Chapter 35. So, I definitely like to break that down. And then based on, what they're looking for, talking about, what each GI Bill, the criteria is for requirements, that's when I will literally go step by step. I will navigate to va.gov with them as we're doing it, via phone or in person, and I'll walk them through step by step what questions you're supposed to answer, how to answer them. This is what they mean. So I definitely like to go fully in depth when we're talking about applying for the GI Bill.
I mean, that information alone is something that I never even realized, that they're all different chapters with different requirements and everything, so that alone is worth this discussion.
And the VA, they use a system, it's called BEAST, which stands for Benefits Education Administrative Services Tool. And in there, they have every veteran that served. So I can look at that, pull up that website, and I can see either you have to provide me with a social or your DOD ID number, and then we can go through and see exactly what GI Bills you have available to you. It's not always updated, I will say that. But for the most part, they do their due diligence as, if they were a former service member, they still have every single period of service that you served in uniform. And they'll have whether you did apply for Chapter 35 or Chapter 30 active duty, and if you paid into it or not. They do have that information on there. Definitely the post 9/11, how many, years or what percentage you have of active service that will qualify you for the full 36 months at the 100% tier. If you didn't, they definitely give me each tier, whether it's 90%, 80%, 70%. So that's why I say I don't help just National Guard members. I can see other veterans. And I can also see if you did transfer that benefit that is on there as well. And to each dependent, what each dependent is on there.
Awesome.
And Brooke, really to get started with these students, I mean, all that we really need is a social security number, their education and military history, whatever they have, just some basic information about if they're also, obviously that for us, they would be coming here, but if they're also training, if they're in any kind of, if they're still active military, and then usually some sort of bank account information for deposit. So it's really that simple. And then we can help them find everything else that they would need.
Well, Ashley and Mark are just taking all my, all my wind. Because they're highlighting, but what I have done is I've dropped in a couple of the links. The first one is to our inbox. So if you've got questions and, just want to see if somebody can help, please email us there. The next one is straight to the va.gov education, and that'll drop you down to the different programs and even how to apply. And to get to Mark's point, applying online now, we've just simplified it yet again. So it should be a fairly easy process, but if it's not, they can download the 1990 or 1990E and fill it in and then submit it through AVA or Ask VA, or mail it in. So we will get it. And then the final one is, we are reaching out to beneficiaries as they request their certificate of eligibility. And we send them, we'll start emailing them right away, how to read their COE, how to read their award letters, what to expect in the process. So we're trying to help and educate, because like Ashley Wheeler said, they don't know everything, but she hit on the 4 things they need. They need their social security number when they apply, bank and bank account information, their history, and as well as basic information for school. If you're a veteran or a service member, you should be able to get an award notification within less than a day now. And if we have all the information on the transfer of entitlement for Chapter 33 beneficiaries, the same thing. That one is relatively new. We just started that in March. We are working with DOD to ensure we have all the information. And then the last thing I want to touch on, foot stomper, and I think you brought it up a little earlier, Brooke, dependents. If they are a transfer of entitlement, for the veterans or the service members, or for the service members really, make sure they completed their service obligation. We see these stories where the service member didn't complete their service obligation. They got out at their convenience, not at the convenience of the government, and then to their dismay, their kids owe a debt. So our foot stomp is you know, like Mark said, we've taken it down easy. You do your first 6 years and enlist for 4 to earn that entitlement to transfer. And that's as simple as it gets. And make sure that you make all your elections prior to getting out and you complete your service. After that, it's fairly easy. And all our great school certified officials, as well as our VA employees, will love to help walk them through the process.
But Terry, having said that, since you said the change was current, and now it probably tells me the school didn't have it. A straight GI Bill transfer to a student, have the letter of certification. Is there any percent less than 100% under GI Bill? The dad is still active duty.
The dad's still active duty. He's made the 3 years, because remember, you got to do 6 years. You got to do 6 years before you can do it, and then you have to commit to your 4 years. So if the kid's if the child's going to school while the member's still serving, that's fine. We'll pay for that, you know, and we'll pay tuition fees, the housing allowance, the book fees, or book and supply stipend. The kicker, though, is if the parent doesn't complete their service obligation, that's what gets them. And so as long as they've done those, Mark, they're in good shape.
Well, I think that's the case. They're just, the lady at the college is trying to match the yellow ribbon program. So she's looking for that letter that in the past for GI Bill said 100%.
That is true.
And I told her, I said, I don't think you're going to get that in the current letter. It's just going to, because now we assume that if it's a GI Bill, they're active duty, they've met all their commitments, there's only 100% of what they're going to do. And that just allows her then, I guess, to tap into the yellow ribbon part of it.
Yeah.
So, but is that decision letter, what we're calling it now?
What they'll do is they'll go to the tool, and then they'll work with their school certifying official and then apply for, you know, if they have an open program, or I term it scholarship just because it's a little bit easier to say, but they'll get access to the yellow ribbon. You know, a lot of our state schools, state funded schools are offering that. But, you know, really, it's really more needed for our private schools or our master's type programs or our overseas programs. But it should be there, Mark. If it's not, let me know. Because we just helped a spouse with one at USC, and we were able to get her taken care of while he's still in service.
Thanks.
And Brooke, just to, I think Nick from NC State would agree with me on this. I think just coming from the college and university level, as you heard, there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of steps and a lot of questions that our veterans may have. So if you do come across someone that wants to come to school, tell them to start early so we have time, because in a perfect world, we would get all of this paperwork for GI Bill and everything back as quickly as possible, but we can't guarantee anything to come quickly. So that is something with education. There could potentially be more steps, because we do want our veterans to get all the benefits they need. So if you know of somebody, get them to us quickly so we can get the process started to get them in.
When you say quickly, do you have like a time frame that you would recommend?
Well, the thing is it really kind of depends on the student and when they want to start, because, you know, schools have rolling admissions. So we've got spring, summer, and fall starts. But I have had students that have come in on start day of classes and have never even applied and want to get their full benefits on that day and things like that. Probably not the best idea. We could maybe get them in for second 8 weeks, though. There's possibilities, but I always tell them, you know, I've met with students at the beginning of summer, end of spring, and I tell them that's perfect start for fall. It just gives them a window, because if students are coming to school, you know, obviously with probably a lot of them coming for the first time, this is new. I mean, we have students here that are 18. I have a student that's 72. There is very different ages. It's an overwhelming process if you've never been through this before. So I always err on the side of caution and recommend, you know, a month or two. Give yourself some time so you're not running around. If you need to find this paper from whatnot, give yourself that time and understand that we need a little time to process everything so you can get your full benefits.
Okay, I have one more question about that, and then Paul, I'll hop over to you. But let's say that, because this has happened where, you know, you're working with someone and they're already in school, but didn't maybe realize that they could qualify. Can they still then go through the application process and still get, okay, good. It doesn't
100%
have to happen
happens.
before.
It happens all the time. Happens
Okay.
with a lot of kids that didn't realize they could use family benefits and whatnot.
Yes.
So obviously there's not a lot of retroactive, but moving forward, we can definitely help.
Awesome, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce what Ashley said. I'm a veteran, 100% service connected. Encourage veterans or family members that may be eligible to connect with Ashley or Nick sooner, not later. Like my lesson was, or more like Mark Patton too. Like if you're not really sure, like, hey, I just got out, I'm going to take some time off. You know what? Take the time to go to Wake Tech or wherever. Sit down with Ashley or her team and get. I think once it's spelled out, you're kind of like, wow, okay, that's a thing, and no wonder there's resident experts in this. And also, just all of us, just a reminder on the call too, is make sure that they get connected to the VA and their county veteran service officer. I know Siobhan Norris is there and her great team at Dougie, but you guys work as a team too, because there's other benefits that they may or may not be eligible for, that those veteran service officers can assist those school certifying officials to get that on. They know the logos and the forms and everything else of where you got to go. And I had, I 100% service connected. So my daughter used Chapter 35, and I got my butt kicked, I admit, a little bit up front. I think, it's just a form here or there like that too. But until I really sat down with someone and they kind of mentored me about the experience, about this is what you need to do, and this is what your student daughter will need to do. That really, really helped, because then I had kind of the cliff notes of, hey, this is what you need to do. And this is great. So just thanks. I just encourage, communicate early and often.
I will say my daughter used my post 9/11 GI Bill at UTSA. So we started. She graduated in May, and we started that process. Got her her certificate of eligibility, and then tried like heck to get her to go to Notre Dame, and she didn't want to go that far and be that cold. So she wanted to go there to University of Texas, San Antonio. So we went and worked with the school certifying and the military teams there, and they were really good. And they walked her through. And this is before I even knew how to spell education service. So so I came in with a great appreciation for the work they do, and definitely work with them. Another great tool is the GI Bill comparison tool. If your students aren't sure, so you're talking with your veterans and they haven't found a school yet, but they want to take a look, man, we've got it down to where you can do location now. You can put in, so I've got friends out there who live out there in Morehead City. I've also got friends who live out there in Sanford, and they can just click in, Sanford, what schools are around Sanford. What is it? UNC Greenville?
Pembroke.
Yeah. So, kick that in there. It'll show the OJT apprenticeship programs that the beneficiaries can use. It'll tell them what their housing allowance will be, what the current or the previous veteran population. So a lot of that, is it yellow ribbon? Is it a yellow ribbon school? So all of those things are in there. So a really good tool. And now you can match, or you can do side-by-side comparisons for 3 schools now instead of just 1. So it's a good tool to help at least start. But my recommendation after that is, then once you picked a school, talk to the school, make sure that's a good fit for you.
Terry, did you put the link to that comparison tool in the chat?
Give me 1 second. I'm grabbing that right now.
Thank you, because I will send out all the information in the chat afterwards, and I think that is fantastic.
And I will add, while we're looking at Brooke, both on the NC State side, the Wake Tech, the Fayetteville Tech, once I'm working with the family, once they start narrowing down on colleges, then I tell them, you call the school veteran service support officer. Worst case, some of the small schools will have somebody like out in the county or in the city. They're not necessarily working at the school. Wish they could all be like NC State. I sent way too many students there, I think. Not that I'm proud to be a Wolfpacker, but between me and my daughter. But yeah, and then at the community college level, those folks just, they lock it up. Like, they work with so many of my kids over the years, and like break it down to where the high school student can go, hey, I get it now.
Yeah. And I'm gonna assume, I want to assume this, but I want to make sure, like, if someone wants to go from one of the community colleges to, you know, to a four-year institution, you guys will communicate together to help that, or is that on the student?
Oh, no. We have partnerships, and actually that's part of advising, is that most of our students that will come here will be a part of a university transfer program. So they're specifically coming here with the idea of going to NC State, UNC, ECU, wherever. So we are fully aware that for some of our students, for about half of them, we're not their final stop. We are just step one of many on their educational journey, but we are also here for those ones that this is it for them. They want to go into those programs and only need that 2 year. But yeah, we have partnerships with pretty much every major university in the state, and we have transfer options for all those students.
Awesome.
And-
I figured,
and-
I just wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah.
And Brooke, do you mind if I add something real quick? Because you know,
Please do.
Ashley was getting to it. We have very good relationships with a handful of our community colleges. So I work with JW at the community college system, and we actually do a reverse process here, because the issue we have at NC State and similar universities, especially for the veterans, more so than the dependents, is trying to come into an environment where they're a competitive applicant. They don't know whether they're supposed to apply as a first year, whether they're supposed to apply as a transfer. And then if you're a transfer, what does that competitive requirement look like? And it's really, there's a common language across all colleges, but for the most part, most of them are different in terms of what courses you need to complete. So for us, we've work closely with our admissions for students that aren't getting in, to then get them back to the community college system as kind of a pipeline program. And we work closely with Ashley and Michael and their team over there at Wake Tech, and we have for years. Obviously, they're in our backyard, but they're great people. And we have a lot of students that come over to NC State. So we'll go from military veteran services to military and veteran services, and we'll meet with these students. So it's not just going through the transfer process, but it's building out those relationships that are then helping them kind of close that loop. Now, in terms of the GI Bill too, so I don't get too far off, because there were a few things that were said that are very important and very valid points, that we'll do a lot of advising around that as well, how to maximize the longevity of those benefits, you know, applying for additional financial aid opportunities, understanding that you can hold on to that. If they have a disability, a VA disability, like looking at Chapter 31 and potentially, you know, lengthening out the time that they can use benefits and when to use them. So I think this is all important, and it's very contextual too, based on whether they're going to the community college, they're coming here, they're still currently serving. You know, 1606, great benefit, but I got in 2000. I exhausted pretty much all of my benefits and had like 3 months of post 9/11 eligibility when it finally came in 2009. So a lot of the conversations we have around 1606, that if they foresee deployments or they have, you know, access at that time to tuition assistance or NC TAP, and they're going to a community college, if they have the ability to use other funds, sometimes you can maximize those for graduate school, but it's still going to pay 100%. 100% is 100%.
Thanks. I'm Isabella. I used my dad gave me 1 year of post 9/11 GI Bill. And so I graduated from UNC Greensboro, and then I decided to use that 1 year to study in the Netherlands. So I was working with an international school, and that school, Leiden University, was not listed on an approved list, like, because I don't know if anyone had ever decided to do that yet. So I had to get the school approved. And so that's another whole process, that if you would like to go to a school that's not necessarily coming up on your Google search or your comparison tool search, or if someone hasn't heard of it yet, that process might add extra time to the to getting your eligibility letter. So I don't know if that process has changed. I mean, that was 2018 when I did that, so I don't know if that's shifted or not, but I just wanted to bring that up and kind of bring it up and ask kind of the question, has that process changed since 5 years ago?
No, it hasn't. It's still the same. But that's why it's good to use the GI Bill comparison tool, because it will tell you if a foreign program is approved. And also now will tell you if that school is a yellow ribbon approved. So we have 4 universities in Australia now that pop up, and I think 1 English school. We just opened it up again to the foreign schools because we just completed the yellow ribbon program for the stateside schools. So we're hoping to expand that. So there's that opportunity. But if it is a school that you want to go to, you got to work with them. There's some issues. A lot of the foreign schools do not have an American bank account. So that is one of the major stumbling blocks. We are desperately working with Treasury Department on that. But Treasury has set the rules. You know, we don't cut the check. So, you know, the people who cut, you know, we just forward them the money and then they cut the check. And so they get to set the rules. So, but do their homework, definitely talk with the school. But again, like I said, that GI Bill comparison tool, if it is in the program, it will tell you that it's approved. If not, give us a query. We'll ask and see if where it is in the process.
Thank you.
Ashley, were you going to add something?
I mean, I think that all this to kind of wrap this up too is that, and I'm sure Nick would agree, being at a school, is that we never want our veterans to feel like they have to remember all of this information. This is a lot. I mean, there really is. We are the subject matter experts. Like, I don't expect any of my veterans to remember that they have to take 12 credit hours to get their housing allowance. That's not something that they're going to know off the top of their head, but our academic advisors know that, as well as our veterans folks. So we just want to make sure with all of this stuff, we never want our veterans to think that they have to remember what chapter they are, all this stuff. We have people at these institutions and in these programs that will help them with this, take it through step by step.
Before I ask my last question, Mark, Terry, did you have anything else you wanted to add along those lines? No.
I think I'm good on that one.
Okay, awesome. The last question I like to ask, because this is the CVEB, our alliance here, I like to find out if there are any gaps that as a group we can help to identify and work together to minimize within the education sector for veterans or family members.
I'll go first. Thanks to our global conference last week and some discussions at several levels. One of mine that I'm actually going to work with the state, North Carolina first, there's a little known part of the VA education where a student can get up to 5 months of extra Chapter 35 benefits. And everyone's like, well, that doesn't affect a lot of people. We got 20 years of war, and we got a lot of folks who still have kids in high school. And it's basically the parent loses a little bit, but the student gets a lot. It's about a $5,000 difference. You get 5 months worth. But that's money that they get when they turn 18 during their senior year, and they can use to pay some of the things mom and dad are working 3 jobs to try and get, like a computer, their down payment, their meal plan. And I found out about it from a parent who said, hey, did you know about this? So before I jumped on board, I was like, let me get the process. I've actually talked to the North Carolina State Approving Agency. They've showed me where the booklet is. I'm going to start in every high school that I can to say, and it started because Union Pines just won a huge award at our conference. They were the elite student-to-student team of the year. And I went up to congratulate them, and literally their principal said, I need your help. And so that is one of my things. It's little known, it's out there, but it only applies at 100%. The child's got to be 18. There's a couple of little things in there. It could be used for remedial classes, for SAT, ACT prep. It's just a neat tool that too many parents don't know about, let alone schools go, oh, I got to get certified as a school. It's not that hard of a process. They have a whole booklet on how to do it.
Interesting. Is there information that you can drop in the chat on that?
Let me see if I can find it again. I've been looking at it too much lately.
I've got a couple, and it's not that I'm endorsing or anything, but we do have memorandums of agreement with these organizations. But for your veterans, especially your service members who are transitioning, they're not sure what they want to do, have them check out Warrior Scholar Project. And they will help bring them on board for a week to 2 weeks in a college environment. Matter of fact, I think they were just down at UNC last month. And they help them with the transition from being a warrior to being a scholar, and helps them with that transition. Also, Columbia University's CVTI program is the same way, but that one can be online. With the Warrior Scholar Project, there's no cost for the school itself. There might be a transportation cost, but they've been getting more and more endowments. And so they've even been able to pay for the airline ticket or the transportation ticket. So Warrior Scholar Project and then Columbia University CVTI. And then for our kids, this is more for our fallen's family members, but Children of the Fallen Patriot Foundation, we're getting ready to release another email probably around the 24th to Fry scholars and those DEA Chapter 35 dependents who've lost their sponsors due to their 100% PNT disability. We're going to notify them. We're working with the Children of the Fallen Patriots Foundation, and they are providing scholarships and grants. Just in our little time with them, they provided almost $5 million to help those family members, especially our Chapter 35 beneficiaries. You know, that $1,400 stipend, that's pretty tight to go to a state school. So that helps. So just, you know, those are agreements that we have. And again, I'm not pushing them. I'm just saying that's what we have. And we share that out. And then finally on DEA Chapter 35, as of August 1st, if you're awarded as a sponsor, your 100% permanent and total disability on or after 1 August 2023, your children and your spouse have no delimiting date on their benefits. If your child is currently not 18 and they turn 18 after 1 August 2018, and they've already been awarded, but they turn 18 after 1 August 2023, again, they do not have a delimiting date on utilizing that benefit. So it allows them to go to school at their rate instead of, as a kid, you know, you could only use it in that block of 18 to 26, but it now gives them that opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you. This has been I mean, all of these meetings are so educational, pun intended. So thank you for that. Does anyone else have any questions?
Just a comment. As far as I recall, the Warrior Scholar project is really great, but I believe it's only for those who are enlisted. So if you have a college degree before, then it's not necessarily the right fit for you, or if you have some college, it's not really the right fit. It was established to get more enlisted veterans to pursue higher education. So just keep that in mind if you're using that as a referral, as a resource to those folks. But I agree, Warrior Scholar Project is fantastic. And we hosted one at Fayetteville State when I worked there, and it was very well received. And then I know I stepped out, so this is redundant, but did anybody talk about the payment, the housing stipend, and you know what that looks like throughout the academic year? Because when I was in higher ed, we had students assume that they would get their full housing stipend during the holiday months, only come to find out it's prorated by the number of days in which you were seated. So something to keep in mind if you have a student, veteran, or somebody that is using their GI Bill, that housing stipend will change periodically throughout the year, depending on their class schedule. And sometimes that can get students into some financial situations where they think that they're going to get their full monthly rent pay, and it's half that or less.
They really need to pay attention, but we are now in the award letters. We're outlining what we're going to pay each month. So say like, you know, I always use $1,000 because it's easier to remember 333 for 10 days. So say like the fall term starts here and they go to school on the 21st, we'll pay them the 10 days remaining, so 333. And then in October, November, we'll pay the $1,000. And then December, we'll pay the 500 because they go through the 15th. And when they go, well, why don't they pay me? I'm not working. Remind them that it is not eating up their benefit. When we first did this, we were going through benefit, our folks weren't even getting out of school at their junior year point and have an exhausted entitlement. My daughter graduated with almost 6 months of entitlement remaining so that she was able to use it for certification process. So kind of try to flip it a little bit and give them that feedback that, this is why it'll allow you to go to ensure that you complete your program with almost as minimal debt as possible.
And Ashley mentioned, they're there to help walk them through those types of things. So make sure that they stay on top of that too.
yeah.
But I didn't know that. That's good information. Anyone else have anything to add?
Just real quick, like a commercial, I see somebody has an announcement. My info's in the box. If you've got a veteran family, anything related to public schools, private schools, charter schools, I run our call center. It's me and one other, only she's having knee surgery. And like today was a very early AM call with a family in Korea. And late night tonight, I'm working with a family in California. And we have a tool that we use that lets them break down state applications. It's through USAA. And then if I get a chance, I'll send an email out with some of the resources I use. But I'm here, use me. It's what I'm paid to. It's kind of my passion. And Terry said he was on retirement number 2. I'm on retirement number 5. That's a lot of checks to get up.
Oh, I love it. Thanks, Mark. Ashley, Mark, and Terry, and Ashley Martinez and Nick, I appreciate all of you adding to this conversation and sharing all this information. It's very beneficial for the groups like us who serve veterans and need to know where to turn for these kinds of answers to be able to answer their questions. So thank you. Before we log off though, I do want to open it for announcements. If anyone has an event or something else that they'd like to share with the group, please use this time now. And then if you have flyers that you want me to send out to the group, please email those to me, brooke@thejoelfund.org. So Caroline, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you so much, Brooke. I'm sorry I was a little late joining today. Everybody was so fabulous to listen to. I'm Caroline Griffin. I'm with the VA Caregiver Support Program at the Durham VA. And I wanted to share an event with you all because we are going to be holding our 4th annual Caregiver Summit virtually at the Durham VA. And the intended audience is actually VA internal staff as well as our community partners. So it really is a professional event. We are planning on offering CEUs if that might be applicable to you. It may not be. We'd still love for you to come. But we feel certain we'll get accreditation for social workers and nurses, but there are a few other disciplines we're working on too. I'm going to send Brooke the save the date flyer to share with you all, but the topic for our summit this year is actually improving the health and well-being of our nation's caregivers. So we're going to be talking a lot about some upcoming caregiving research coming out of the VA as well as Duke. And we're also hosting a psychologist and director of employee experience from the Richmond VA in Virginia, talking a little bit about compassion fatigue, both for caregivers and for healthcare workers. And I know that probably spans a lot of other areas besides just healthcare workers. So I hope you'll consider joining us. We're also going to be hosting a VA and community panel featuring Miss Isabella, who I think has walked out of the room, or at least out of my view, but she'll be a panelist. I know Brooke has been a panelist in the past, as well as Laura McCarthy has presented as well. I see her on the call. So we're going to have just great minds coming from both the VA and the community to talk about what it means to support our nation's caregivers in terms of their physical health, mental health, and all the areas that we consider wellness. So I hope you'll attend. Again, it's going to be virtually via Teams on Wednesday, August 30th. And Thursday, August 31st, it will be over kind of lunchtime hours from 10:30 in the morning is when registration starts, and we'll wrap up at 1 each day.
Caroline, can we forward, MSEC is partnered with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. We're sponsoring the Youth Hidden Helpers program.
Yes.
We just did our first conference. Can I forward the link to some of the folks who are actually doing that part?
Please do.
I actually hosted 4 young men. Oh my gosh, this generation, and the word bruh. I think I heard it like 1 million times in 3 days. Bruh. I'm like, don't you guys have names? But we learned a ton from these kids. And for those who don't know, Elizabeth Dole Foundation has identified that we have kids who are taking care of their parents emotionally and physically, but they're not getting extra support. They don't understand their support out there. And these kids were really, really cool. We did a leadership seminar. Terry, you'll like this. It was at UTSA. They sponsored it. And back in April, we brought 14 kids in. We're hoping now to repopulate that, have them lead groups, have them get out in the community. So I think we can learn from the support folks, caregiver support folks, what we might be able to, and then what we might be able to add from you guys.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Ashley Wheeler, you have your
Yes, just to give a little plug for what we've got coming up. We do have an information session for anybody that is interested in potentially going to school. It's going to be on October 24th. I will send you the information and the sign up for that. But we have had students come to this before that have ultimately decided not to come to Wake Tech and maybe go to Durham Tech or go to ECU or whatnot. We can answer general questions. We're going to have financial aid, veteran services, everyone there. So obviously we would love for them all to become a Wake Tech Eagle, but we understand that's not everybody's journey, but we will be able to answer those questions in person. That's kind of the biggest thing, is trying to get everything offline and back onto campus. But this next one is going to be at our northern campus. So if anybody is interested even in stopping by and just kind of checking it out, we'd love to have you there.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, I just I put Victoria Call's information in the chat just now. Met her yesterday, Brooke, during your planning meeting. And she seems to be very excited to be one of the new caregiver fellows for the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, who many of us know Carrie White. You know, Carrie White's, in my eyes, a saint. She should be sainted. She's a great human being, but Victoria's in there now too. And it's just a great resource. And I know she wouldn't mind if I shared her email. She wants to connect and partner. I just want to go back to what Caroline said real quick. Even early next month, right after Labor Day, 6th, 7th, and 8th, I'm going to go back to the Institute of Veterans and Military Families, IVMF, on the Staff Sergeant Fox grant, which is the VA grant to pay these nonprofits like ours that I work at to do different work and screening for veterans. But compassion fatigue is our main discussion topic also on the first day. So I'm glad to see multiple organizations coming together. I think during COVID and coming out of COVID, we're all grinding away at this. And I know I've suffered from it multiple times where I've had to like really reset myself and just, you know, we can't take care of our veterans and their families if we can't take care of ourselves first. So just happy to see that. Just Caroline, look really forward. We have some social workers that we can maybe send to that.
Thanks, Paul. You jogged my memory. We are partnering, Wake County Veteran Services is partnering with Veterans Bridge Home on September 7th for our mental health first aid training. So if you're interested in becoming trained as an adult mental health first aider, the registration is open and live. And we can send you that link, and I'll be sure, I think you already have it. I can't recall. But it will be at the Human Services Building off of Bland Road in our conference center. So please sign up. It's a great program if you haven't taken it.
Thanks, Savon. Yeah, I checked this morning, got about 20 folks signed up for it already. Max class attended size is 30, but we can always do more classes. So just, yeah, thanks for the shout out on that, Savon and Brooke. It's really good training. It really is.
Awesome. And then one last announcement, we're helping to plan the Durham Resource Fair and Stand Down on September 16th. We will have right now we have over 60 vendors registered to attend. And it's going to be an awesome event. We even have Dougie Johnson from Wake County who will be there providing services, but also as our DJ. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Food is included. So if you haven't registered to attend as an organization, please do. And I will send out the flyer, and if you'll share it with your veteran groups, that would be awesome. So.
Can I have one more alibi?
Absolutely.
We're coordinating on the messaging right now, but for those of you who work with veterans and those veterans who have at least one day of GI Bill entitlement remaining, We're bringing back online the Veterans Employment Through Education, our technological education courses, or what we call Vet Tech. We're hoping to start that up again in September. And then the new allocations for FY24 monies roll in on the 1st of October. So we're looking at having about $55 to $56 million to carry us through the program sunsets on 1 April, unless Congress revises it. So keep an eye out on that and makes it permanent. But if you know of a veteran and all they have to do is have 1 day of entitlement remaining, and they want to go through an accelerated learning training, and then have the vet tech training provider help them with finding employment, we'll pay their tuition and fees, as well as give them provide the students a housing allowance, and go from there. So hope be looking for that over the next couple of weeks in messaging to our training partners and our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you for your time. This was a great discussion. And our next meeting will be on September 12th, and we will be discussing social enrichment. So please join us then, and keep an eye out for the flyer. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hey, everyone.